SMCI is in a major spot after breaking through that 54.20, guys, getting all the way up to that 62.32. We see a little bit of a rejection there, but price has done exactly what we thought it would. Thought it would break out of that zone as we were building up that energy here in this range. We see sellers push us down, we get the buy back up, and we see some nice continuation up to that range with that nice green wide bar, shifting that momentum, doing around an 8% movement in that one day alone. And we see a little bit of continuation up to the top of that zone of 62.32, right where we saw a little bit of resistance on that last time, coming down there, trying to get back up. See that resistance right at that marker there, and we get pushed back down. So should we expect buyers to push right through that zone, or are sellers going to find that control, pushing us back down within this general consolidation zone here, or even perhaps lower than that? All right, guys, getting this analysis started on the weekly time frame, we see that we did break out of some very important resistance as we've been covering in the past SMCI videos, right? We've gotten down there, made that high of 122.90, kind of chopped around, found some support, and met back up with that resistance, kind of flushed that level, going all the way back down to 17.31, right where that stock kind of built up that steam, right? Wasn't doing too much, pretty constant, and then we got right above that 17.31, built up that volatility, and then boom, that huge move all the way to 122.90. Buyers in full control for many weeks. So once we get back here, guys, we kind of chop around, find some ascending support. We found resistance around that $48 to $50 level, get shut down, me right back up with around that ascending support, get pushed all the way to that high of 66, trying to break that long-term resistance, but we get pushed right back down or right back on that ascending support. Then we see a sharp movement, right? Someone has to win. Buyers won that battle with that very nice wide green bar there, guys. We see a huge shift in momentum as we're riding that ascending support. Meet up with this shorter term resistance. Somebody has to win that battle, and the buyers step in with a monstrous move up, touching that resistance once more, and that's where we find a little bit of a pullback there, but we hold tighter within that range. We don't get violently shut down like every single time we've touched around that resistance zone, so we kind of hold tighter and we bleed out of that zone. We don't see a huge volatile movement out. Instead, we kind of just see price bleed out of that zone, and then once we're fully out of that zone, we see a nice continued pattern up in this very nice ascending profile on the weekly, getting above that 54.20, which was the major top of this kind of consolidation zone here, and we test that 62.32, seeing if we get over that, so we can test that 66, that being the actual top of the zone, wicking off of there and coming back down. So should we expect buyers to continue their nice movement to that $66 level, or are we going to see a little bit of a retracement given that nice somewhat overextended movement out? All right, guys, now on the daily, we see a better perspective of what's really going on. We're really in a stair-step like pattern, so we held tight at that range. Once we were looking for that breakout there, we kind of bled out. We didn't see a volatile movement up like we described, and we kind of just bled out. And then once we got out, we need the buyers to build that momentum. See a nice movement up to around 46-ish. See this zone of around 46 to 50-ish, that type of level. Kind of chop between that zone for a bit before finding us in an energy building phase, right? Volume's kind of drying up. We're in a consolidation like phase, and then we see a nice pop. And if we find a new consolidation zone, that past resistance turning into the support, and that new resistance of 54.20 being formed, as we chop there for a bit, sellers try to push us under that range. That's where you see buyers really step in, not letting the buyers win this battle, and they push us to the top of that range. Then we gap up slightly, and we see a very drastic green wide bar pushing us right out of that zone. Followed up with that, sellers try to push us down slightly, buyers buy it right back up, and we test that zone of 62.32, that being an obvious resistance in the past there. And on this most recent daily candle, we did get a bit of a shutdown with price closing at 58.97, that being a pretty substantial movement down, but we are still very much in that overall breakout level, as we still roughly have around 5-ish to 6% of a movement that the sellers would still have to retrace to get that full movement down and correction from this nice breakout here. I mean, the stock's done exactly what we thought it would, guys, and it's looking very bullish still. We're still in this obvious stair-step like pattern. Nice movement up, kind of chop around, nice movement up, chop around, nice movement up, and we could be chopping around a bit before that nice movement up once again. Wouldn't surprise me to find another little consolidation range, kind of chop within that, guys, and then find another movement out. There's always a chance we get a slight pullback as we are quite overextended here, but in the big picture, guys, buyers have that ultimate control, and we've just had that nice breakout with a very strong green wide bar and a push to the top of the resistance zone. So to think that the sellers are going to rip us down here, I think is quite unlikely. I think it's very much normal that we see a little bit of a pullback here. We're in an obvious resistance zone. We've tested it only about 2 days now, so it makes sense that we have a slight pullback. Over the last few days, right, we've gotten around a 21% move to the upside, guys, right? Only counting the last few daily candles, so it makes complete sense that we have a small pullback here. I think we are headed back to the top of here, retesting that 62.32. Breaking through that and testing that 66. We look very healthy on SMCI. Great price action, and the daily is still doing what we want to see it do. A small pullback like we see here on today's trading day is very much expected after hitting a resistance like 62.32. All right, guys, now on the hourly, we see that stair step pattern a bit better, right? Those nice moves up, the chop, the move up, the chop, and the move up, leading us to a smaller pullback, possibly going to find another chop range before another movement up. So really textbook here, guys. I mean, we've broken out of that longer term resistance. We see how we held a lot tighter up there after we got that green wide bar shifting that momentum, gapping up, and instead of getting pushed down aggressively after hitting that top, we just hold pretty tightly given that past price action, and we kind of just bleed out of that zone. And once buyers win that fight, getting above that shorter term resistance, that's where you see price kind of pick up, leading us to this new consolidation range roughly around that 46.20 to that $50 level, and it's a stair step pattern from there, guys. So looking very nicely. If we look at the more recent hourly price action, we see that nice movement up. We see sellers try to step in. Buyers continue that move up. We hit right off that resistance, get a little bit of back and forth, tightening price action. Sellers try to push us down. Still in an ascending profile. Buyers try to get that move up, testing that spot once again, but we cannot get it. And that's where you see a little bit of a sell-off after kind of double topping at that resistance. But even at that close, we still are in an ascending profile, guys. So still looking very good. Say we even got to retrace a bit, we could be finding some support right around this level here, holding us above this general kind of chop range. And on a less optimistic case scenario, we could be looking at the bottom of this gap up like range. So the main supports we'll be looking at is that rough $55 level, as well as shorter term around that 57.30 to 57.40 level. So definitely could be bouncing at one of those levels, guys. I think we look really good here. It makes sense that we're getting a bit of a pullback like we said on the daily. There is going to be a bit of indecision at a resistance level like this. So watch for that continued move up. If bears get control, watch those two support levels, with the further support level being around that 54.20 level, that being that past resistance there. But yeah, looking great, guys. I think that we do get that movement up. I think we continue our rise to that $66 level where we'd have that stronger resistance zone, right? That last time we really tried breaking out of that longer term resistance and we got shut down pretty hard at that point. I think we do go up and test that 66, guys. I think SMCI has been a powerhouse of a stock. I think we do get past that 66 and go further than that. I mean, I think we have looked great on SMCI unless there's some drastic bad news that pulls this thing down. I think we are headed to that 66 and surpassing that. And the price action we see here is still very, very bullish, right? We see a very small pullback after hitting a major resistance, which is completely normal. So let me know your price predictions in the comments below, guys. I think we look good here on SMCI. Price doing exactly what we thought it would do. Really good stuff, guys. Textbook. And if volume can kind of dry up, giving us a little bit of a chop and then really blow up, as we're going to have a good amount of volume to break through that zone. We see how tough and suppressive that zone was with the sellers really pushing price down and finding that full rejection. So for us to test that and get above that zone, we're going to have a lot of volume come in here. So watch for increased volume and volatility of the stock. We definitely do still remain bullish on SMCI, looking very nice here. And as always, guys, trade smart, and I will see you all on the next one.